I just appreciate you giving.
Oh,
There you
we
are.
go. There we go.
I just appreciate you giving us an opportunity to talk with you today.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good.
So I'm just going to introduce myself and my brother to you. Then we're going to give you the proper introduction. My name is Scott Rodgers, and
it's been a long day. I've been working since 2 a.m. this morning. Sorry. My name's Matt.
Feel you, man.
So and we're just we two brothers that talk wrestling, and we decided to be fun with it and do weekly reviews and podcasts on YouTube and stuff like that. So, and I am honored to be on Belief to have you come on and talk to us. So, with that, I'm going to give you a proper introduction, okay? Scott, I'm Scott Rodgers. My brother Matt Rodgers. We're Huge Pop Wrestling. Our guest today is none other than the former ROH TV champion, the CEO of Shane Taylor Promotions, #1 contender for ROH Championship, the notorious one, Shane Taylor. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, brother. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, man. I want to start with I've read a touching article I read on, which would bring me up to my first thing. You grew up in Cleveland, the east side of Cleveland, and all that with your family, and your dad said something to you back when you were a child. He said, I read an article. He said that you either can continue or go on the street or something like that, or you can make the decision and be the first one to graduate from college from your family. So I guess my question is, can you tell us a little bit about how it was growing up in East Cleveland and that situation?
I mean, growing up on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio is really no different than a lot of people will tell you growing up in the inner city is like, in Chicago or Compton or anywhere else, right? You grow up fast. You see things that as a child you're probably not supposed to see. You're put in positions as a child you're probably not supposed to be put in. But in a weird way, even though you kind of go through this hell, like it makes you a better person. It prepares you for life. But you had to grow up very, very fast. Like, I mean, I make no secret about it. I've been to over 100 funerals by the time I was 13, right? I've seen just about everything there is to see. I've had friends die in my arms. I've been, in knife fights, gunfights. I've been, I've had my house shot up because my dad and my uncles were trying to stop the dealers on our corner. Been through it all. So I see the world a little differently than everybody else does.
Okay.
That's also why I make my voice as loud as I do when it comes to social issues, because a lot of people that talk about growing up in the inner city or talk about cities like Cleveland or Chicago have never lived in Cleveland or Chicago, so they have no idea what parents have to go through. They have no idea how hard people work to get out of these situations to make sure their kids grow up the right way. But when you're a family that, your father or uncles are lost to a crooked judicial system, they're gone. So now your mother has to work 2 or 3 jobs. She can't be everywhere. As a child, you're going to find people to be around. You're going to get into trouble.
Right.
That's what it is. It doesn't mean that your parents had less morals or they didn't try hard or they don't care. Nothing could be further from the truth because they often care the most. There's just nothing they can do because they're trying to provide. So for me,
I
man,
seen in that article. That's why I seen
yeah,
that article. Your dad, man, you had some loving parents, obviously, because
right.
your dad.
So right. So to get to that part, yeah, most people, right? most people will tell you to steer away from those things because they think that it's not something good for you, right? The thing with that is I didn't have a problem running the streets. It wasn't something that I was bad at. It was something I was really good at. And that's what scared my dad is he saw his son, you know what I mean? He saw himself in his son.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so, and maybe even a quote unquote better version of himself in his son. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that scared him.
I just seen it. I thought that was awesome that you had a dad that was put you first, and working in the foster home setting that where I do in Florida. You see a lot of parents not,
Right.
not give their kids that care that and I just thought when I read this article, I was like, wow, that's I'm impressed. So I was impressed about that. I just wanted to tell you that.
He's the man. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's the reason that I do a lot of the stuff that I do. He set a good example.
One of the things, I guess you probably get to ask this question all the time. My brother and I, we grew up and we would watch Saturday Night's Main Event, and stuff like that. That's where we started loving wrestling at or watching wrestling at. So how did you become to like wrestling, love wrestling, and and realized this is what you wanted to do?
We used to watch wrestling as a family, man. It was kind of an escape for us for 2 or 3 hours to kind of just avoid the rest of the world. If everybody was in the house watching wrestling, you didn't have to worry about if someone wasn't going to make it back. You know what I mean? Because everybody was there. Me and my family lived really close to each other. My aunts and uncles, we all lived a few blocks away. And back then, there was only a few pay-per-views a year. There was like maybe 4 or 5. So we didn't have a lot of cash. You know what I mean? So each house would get like one pay-per-view a year. They'd save up and get one a year, and we'd just go there. And there'd be like big parties. And just having everybody there, you got to lose yourself in wrestling. You got to pretend to be the Undertaker or pretend to be Vader or whoever, just to escape that reality for a bit. But for me, even though that was a fun thing, I never really saw anybody that I could relate to that. I mean, it was entertaining, don't get me wrong, but I never saw anybody I could relate to until Ron Simmons.
Okay.
And then Simmons beat Vader for the World Championship, and I saw the reaction that everybody had there, tears on the face of the young black kids, the joy in the face of everybody in the crowd, and here was this black man who wasn't a stereotype, wasn't a caricature of black culture, wasn't some, hyper criminalized version of what a black man should be. Just a hard-working black dude who fought his ass off. Sorry to cuss, and got to the top of the mountain.
No.
And that was the first time that I went, okay, that's awesome. That's something that I want to cheer for.
Awesome. Real quick, then I'll let Matt ask his question. I seen that your dad, I believe, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your dad was in the gym with the Road Warriors. Did I read?
Yeah.
Did I read that wrong?
No. Back in the day, there was a place called the Richfield Coliseum,
Okay.
right in Richfield, Ohio. That's where all the tours went through. So everybody went to the Richfield Coliseum. And my dad, bodybuilding guy, is friends with Lee Haney, is friends with Ron Short. You know what I mean? He knows all these guys. So they would always go to the Gold's Gym that is right there, that was there in Richfield. And so anytime they came to town, my dad just made it a point to take us. We would get a hotel and he would go lift, and I got to go with him and just sit in the corner and roll weights around while he's out here lifting with the Road Warriors and the Ultimate Warrior, doing all this crazy stuff. And then they look like superheroes. You know what I mean? I'm watching them lift ungodly amounts of weight. And as a kid, it's impressive as a child, but like once you do this and you apply these things, you understand just how ridiculous it is, right? So you're talking about an Olympic bar, probably 100 pounds, loaded with 45s, but that wasn't enough. Then they put people on the side of them and started with people on the side lifting, and it's like, bro, there is no need to be that damn strong. You know what I mean?
Right,
Even
right?
while
Hell no.
need to be that damn strong.
Wow.
But just some amazing things that I got to see and be a part of, people that I got to meet, and that right there kind of just cemented it in my mind that this is the world that I wanted to be in.
That's awesome, man. Hey, Matt, you got anything?
Yeah, I have a 8-year-old son. Loves wrestling. That's all he loves. That you name a wrestler, a WWE action figure, he's got pretty much everything.
Right.
And he is huge into the industry, the business. What for an 8-year-old or any kid, what would be the one piece of advice for, or any sort of words for him or anyone that loves the business, and how to basically, what would you tell a kid that is that passionate about it? Like,
Okay. I would make sure that they really want to do it first, right? I would want to make sure that it's their absolute passion, because the only way that it's going to work and the only way you're going to be successful is if it's your passion, because you are going to hear no a lot of times before you hear yes. You are going to have to work harder than you've ever had to work, and there's going to be times where you feel as though maybe you are the hardest worker in the room and you're still not getting the opportunities that you want to get. That's going to happen. But you have to have an undying, unyielding confidence and belief in yourself, have a willingness to go out there and outperform, outtrain, outwork everybody that's around you, because you have to remember, you're not competing just against the kids in your city or the kids in your state or the kids in your country. You are competing with everybody from around the world for a select number of positions. So love it, have it be your passion, be the hardest worker you can possibly be, and understand that the no's are going to come before the yeses do, and understand that that's going to be a tough path, but when you walk it and you complete it and you get to where you want to be, it'll make it that much better.
Awesome.
yeah, that's awesome.
One of the things I did notice that a lot of these wrestlers you see nowadays, they have gimmicks, and one thing I see, it's apparent that you're Shane Taylor in and out of the ring, and you make it work. You had said it even on the beginning of the podcast that I'm me, and that's what you're going to get. And I just want to say I think that's awesome, because I think we need more people that aren't afraid to be themselves, and so I think that's a great. So I applaud you for that. So training. I guess my thing. What is the hardest part of training? How often do you train during the week? During a day. My foster kids, they asked me that question. Can you ask them how often he trains, and how hard is the training?
Now that I have two kids, my training is a little different than when I started, but I train twice a day. Once very early in the morning before my kids get up. So you're talking about 4 or 5 a.m. and then after they go to bed, which is probably around 9 or 10, cardio, boxing in the morning, weights at night. And I train exactly how I just said. I train to be one of the very best in the world. So any lift that I do has to be, aimed with that intention. Any punches that I throw are aimed at that intention of being the absolute best. So the workouts are as hard as I need them to be for me to feel that I've put in the quality work that I should have put in, and that I've made myself better that day.
Okay.
And along with trying to do things the best way that I can to keep my body ready physically. It's a grind, man. There's no off season with this sport.
Awesome.
I just have a kind of a question that goes similar to that. You want to be the absolute best, and that's the goal. When you're in that mode, are you still? Because you said that you were a fan when you were little and growing in. Are you still a fan, or is it just focused on being the best?
No, you're always going to be a fan. The passion for doing this and being a fan of this is why we're all here. It's why we do what we do. But while we're here, if you weren't trying to be the best, then you're wasting your time. If I just wanted to be a fan, I would just buy tickets. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I guess the follow-up question would be...
No. And this is just answering your question. I'm not coming at you.
Well, yeah.
There's like you because you're a fan, you want to be the best because you want the sport to grow. You want the opportunities to come, right? I know that to be the number one guy in any company, everybody's futures rest on your shoulders. That's the pressure that people don't think about and don't talk about, right? Whether my coworkers eat or not depends on me. Whether my coworkers can send their kids to college depends on me. Sure. My coworkers want to buy houses. That's on me to be the absolute best that I can be to help facilitate these things going forward, right? So these are pressures that someone has to step up to. Someone has to live up to. And I prepare myself every day to live up to those expectations, to carry the weight of that, because it's something that I want to carry. And I think when people just look at it from the fan side, it's like, oh, it would be cool to be, WWE champion and win at WrestleMania and do all that. They don't understand the work that goes into that moment, right? Kind of like when you hear about, Kobe hits a game-winning shot, right? Oh, man, I want to be like Kobe. It's like, do you? Okay, because he practiced that a million times in the gym.
Right.
For that one shot. You know what I mean? So the same kind of thing applies.
Awesome. So I guess I answered. I had a personal question. I answered that you just answered basically. I read somewhere where you were bigger now. You were once were heavier than you are now, and you made a decision that you didn't like how you felt or something like that, and you made a decision to have a life change or do something different. Well, I struggle. I'm a big guy. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I were just talking the other day, we got to do something. So we set out goals. We had a book that we wrote goals on and stuff like that. If you had any advice to a big man like me and with what you went through or to change the way you lived and the way to start losing weight and stuff like that, what would be the biggest advice there? Did you just do it and put into work?
I mean, essentially that's all there is. You know what I mean? But just as a correction, like I didn't lose the weight. Just like I didn't feel bad. I was performing at a high level, There was nothing wrong, no injuries, no high blood pressure, no nothing. Everything medically for me, pristine, right?
Okay.
It was just that I knew that my ceiling was going to have there was a ceiling that I had as a big guy. People in charge weren't going to see me as a star if I just remained a big guy.
Okay.
So the goal was change how they see me and take away every possible reason for them to tell me no.
Okay. Thank you.
That was the purpose. But really, man, it's just making sure you're getting the proper amounts of water, you're eating correctly. I think when people eat, they don't understand portion control.
Right.
So what they think they need to eat and what they actually need to eat are two separate things. And yeah, man, just put the work, eat the right stuff, put the time in the gym. It's not a fast process. That's another thing that people get discouraged on. They'll go for a week, 2 weeks, and be like, man, I'm not seeing things, but it takes time, right? There was something that I saw that said like how your eyes process things, right? You see yourself every day. So the change that you see is going to be minimal compared to what someone else sees from you, right? So it's like between 4 weeks, people around you start to see things. 8 weeks, you start to see changes. Then by like 12 weeks, you really see the change come in, right? So it takes time.
All right. Thanks, man. Wrestling now. Can you talk to us about the debut of the Pretty Boy Killers, the tag team with Keith Lee? How was that? How was working with Keith Lee, and can you describe that experience?
Keith Lee is my guy. What made that tag team so fun and so interesting is it's essentially the mindset and feeling behind it is no different than what we have at Shane Taylor Promotions right now. We were two guys who wanted to break the stereotypes of black men in wrestling, of big guys in wrestling, who wanted to change the sport. And we knew that individually it was going to be tough, but together there was nobody that was doing what we were doing. There's nobody that looked like us. There's nobody that performed the way we did. So we decided to team up. And that name is chosen specifically for a reason. Because there's a lot of stereotypes in professional wrestling, especially when it comes to those in power, about what they think a champion is, about what they think a star is, about how a star is supposed to look. And we wanted to completely shatter all those stereotypes, all those preconceived notions, to end that pretty boy era of professional wrestling, because all of us have the potential to be stars when you're put in spots to succeed, right? So that's what that was about. And for being a team less than 2 years, we get to ROH and we have the opportunity to work with some of the very best. The only thing that I regret is that we didn't get to do those things together in ROH, because when you think about the matches that we could have had for the next 2-3 years, well, I've been there 6 now. The next 6 years, you're talking PBK against the Young Bucks, PBK against SoCal Uncensored, PBK against the Briscoes. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking a who's who of tag teams, a who's who of moments, a who's who of potential matches. That's what excites me. But the goal when we started was to both get jobs doing this. We achieved that. We both won championships, and we're on our way to both making history in our own way.
Awesome.
Yep.
You had a match with Kenny King. I couldn't help but watch it over and over again. And at the end of the match, you're sitting on that mat, and he came up, and I tried to hear it on the screen, but he came up and he hugged you and whispered something into you. I read later that it was some encouraging words. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. For a long time in ROH, I was lost. People didn't know what to do with me, and I was kind of floundering a bit. But I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew what my goals were, and I also knew what was waiting for what was waiting for me if I failed at this. You know what I mean? So, and Kenny King had everything that I wanted. He had the money, he had the success, he had the notoriety, he had the family, he had everything. He, he has it all, and I wanted that. And so I put my heart and soul into that match, and I gave it everything I had, but I came up short. And I was down because, I had given it everything. And he just came over. And this is a guy who's taught me so many lessons, who's been there through all my lows and all my highs. And he just hugged me and told me, "You don't know how good you're going to be yet." He's like, this loss is not going to define you. You don't know how good you're going to be yet.
Awesome.
And I didn't know what he meant at the time, but fast forward, you see the TV title win, you see the run, you see the change in attitude, you see the change in direction of my career, and you see where I'm at now. This is what he meant. Awesome. I liken myself to guys like Lennox Lewis, right, who only got better as they got older. They understood the game more, right? And people peak it at different times, and that's what you're seeing now is me ascending to that peak because I'm still not there yet. So now I go back, and now I beat Kenny King in our rematch. I lead my team to victories over and over and over again to now we're the number one contenders for the Ring of Honor World 6-man titles. And now I, individually, am the number one contender for the Ring of Honor World title.
That's coming up on the 27th, right?
Absolutely. The weekend of the 27th. I do believe if people don't catch it that weekend, it will be available March 1st on the Fight TV app for everybody to watch along for the ROH watch party. Nice. But this is what he meant. This is what he meant.
Awesome.
And I'm just glad that I listened, and I know I'm going against his stablemate now in Roosh. But I think deep down, after I win the Ring of Honor World Championship, there's going to be a small piece of him that's still very proud that I did it.
There you go. I love the confidence, man. I love the confidence.
This is my question. You talk about what Kenny said to you and gave you those encouraging words. Is there anybody prior to that gave you, that's in the business, that gave you the best advice and got you rolling, even like got you to where you are right now?
Oh, for sure.
One in the business.
Yeah, there are several folks. The first and foremost is Raymond Rowe, Eric of Viking Raiders fame now. He is integral to my career. He's my trainer, best friend, rival, mentor, godfather to my kids. He's the reason that I have a career. So all of the lessons and advice that I've gotten from him has helped make me who I am, as well as J-Rock, my other trainer, best friend. He's done the same thing. Guys like Luke Hawks down in New Orleans, who have given me everything, opportunities to win championships. He's helped me get stunt work. He's put me in, he's given me more opportunities than I could ever thank him for. Guys like Lance Hoyt as well. You know what I mean? I was doing extra work for WWE at the time, and he helped me there. You know what I mean? Just small things that guys don't have to do, but he would reach out, and even now reaches out to just give me advice, encouragement, and likewise, and I get it, and I get to do the same. So it's cool now to see guys that were mentors to me now peers to me, and being able to help them the way they help me. So it's a great feeling for sure.
Very cool.
What's your proudest and greatest achievement in ROH or wrestling so far?
So far,
'Cause obviously you're going to win the championship on the 27th. We know that.
I mean, but honestly, the biggest thing for me so far is watching the ascension of my guys in Shane Taylor Promotions. It's watching the ascension of Khan and Moses, watching Ron Hunt grow, seeing O'Shea Edwards debut, watching guys who many thought at the ROH dojo that they didn't know what to do with them. They didn't see whatever it was in them. And now you put them with me, you give them the opportunity to be successful. And now you're talking about guys that everybody sees as future stars, that everybody sees as singles champions or tag team champions, whatever the case may be. They now get to see what I've seen all along. So watching them rise to the levels that they are so quickly, that to me is my proudest thing so far, as well as being sort of the catalyst for, I think, a lot of African-American wrestlers, especially in Ring of Honor, to use their voices and use their platforms and talk about a lot of things that maybe before I got there, they weren't so eager to talk about or were more nervous to talk about. So I think elevating my guys and creating an environment that people can use their voices on and platforms to use their voice on, that's gonna be what I'm most proud of. The championships are great, the money's great, all that's well and good. But changing the sport and leaving it better than I found it, bringing my guys with me as I go up, that's what this is about.
Awesome, man. Thank you for that. Matt?
This is kind of to switch gears a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a two-parter. If you had to pick a dream opponent across the whole business, past and now present, who would they be?
Past, I'm gonna go me versus Vader. He was a guy, him as well as Stan Hansen, guys that were never the most jacked guys. They were just big dudes who would punch you in the face, and I'm down for that. You know what I'm saying? That's right up my alley. Stand there, throw bombs. We'll see who's got the most heart. You know what I mean?
I think I'd last 2 seconds.
Yeah. Hey, man.
I'll lay down, thanks.
I'm swinging for the fence. If I miss, oh well. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what. When the way you were just pounding on Kenny King, I felt bad for him.
Man, I hit hard, man. All I need is one clean shot, and it can change a fight. You know what I mean? So, so that would be past, and if it's present, it's Ray Rowe. I mean, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, if you want the very best of me, he's going to be the guy to bring it out. As well as guys like Jay Briscoe, similar cloth type individuals. Grew up tough. We know what it's like to fight. We know what it's like to scrap. They bring that intensity, and if you don't match it, you're going to get ran over. So they bring an intensity that forces you to bring not just your A+ game, but your A+ extra credit game. You know what I mean? And I love them for that, because I like bringing the best out of myself and challenging them to bring the best out of themselves.
Awesome. So we're at Huge Pop Wrestling. So my brother and I, like, when we look at the weekend wrestling, we find the huge pop that happened during the show or whatever. If you had to pick a huge pop for you, like, woo, a big moment in a match, what would it be for in your career? What would it be? What was a huge pop?
Probably the matches with Jeff Cobb.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
And honestly, no, I take that back. The match with Joe Hendry at York Hall when I defended the TV title. That match was incredible.
Joe Hendry, you said?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I did not see that.
Yeah, check it out. It's up on the Ring of Honor YouTube right now.
All right.
Walking into England, you're on UK soil. I'm in his house. You know what I mean? I love walking into hostile environments. I'm at home there. So to have that sort of crowd with that energy, being that ravenous, we're starting the match, and it is raining down FU Taylors, right? It is as loud as you can possibly think that it is, and it was just such a fun environment. The violence, the physicality of the match, the back and forth, and then the absolute hush that came over the crowd when I won, to me, is better than any big pop, right?
Yeah.
Because more than making people cheer, I love shutting people up.
There you go.
And that I got to shut up not only an entire building, but an entire country simultaneously.
Fair.
I got to say, everybody shut up. I'm still the man. Shut up. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So that moment
All right, fair.
there.
Thanks, man. Matt, you got anything?
Like you said, you're always going to be a fan. Has there been a moment or a guy that you've met in your journey that you kind of like, hold on, I just met him, or wow, I'm in the same ring as this guy? Has there been anyone in your career that's happened with?
Yeah, I mean, I've met just about everybody at some point. I've met I think the only person I haven't met is The Rock, to be honest. But yeah, I think like you're referring to like maybe that starstruck feeling. I feel like the only person that's ever happened with was Taker, because I just saw him as such like as such a person that was like beyond human, that it was like my mind couldn't comprehend at the time. I was like shaking hands with the guy. You know what I mean? But he was probably the only one that I was like starstruck by. And a lot of that too. And I've met a lot of the older guys, from your Flairs to your Hogans to Jake Roberts and all these guys. And yeah, and at some point in my life, it's been revealed to me that they're not the people that I thought they were, right? So it's like, okay, so that kind of lessens it, right? But yeah, man, everybody for the most part, has been pretty cool.
You ever met Sting?
Yeah, I have.
That's my favorite wrestler, man. I just have to say that because I've been a Sting fan for when he was, in WCW, etc. So,
I guess if you could work with anybody across, like, I already asked you that. Is there a guy in any promotion that you haven't had the opportunity to work with that you'd love to work with in the future?
It's a good question. I remember Keith Lee had a series of 2 matches with Tomohiro Ishii in England for Rev Pro. And I was jealous of those because I love matches like that, those stylistic matches and those big fight feels. And they were 2 great matches. So, and me being the competitor that I am, I kind of want to be able to tell him that I had a better match with Ishii than he did. You know what I mean? So I would love to face Tomohiro Ishii. He also got to face Suzuki. He also got to face Minoru Suzuki one-on-one in Ireland. And so that's another guy that I would love to get into the ring with one-on-one. We were in a 6-man, but that's not the same. You're dealing with 4 other variables. But me versus Minoru Suzuki one-on-one or Tomohiro Ishii one-on-one, I'm all for that.
Awesome. We haven't touched on. I know we're cutting your time a lot. We haven't touched on Shane Taylor Promotions. Just can you briefly talk about how it started and where it's going and the reasoning behind all this? I mean, you touched a little bit on it, but
Yeah.
I know you're very proud of Shane Taylor Promotion, which you ought to be. So if you could touch briefly on that, that'd be awesome.
Shane Taylor Promotions is a group that is dedicated to changing the world of professional wrestling, specifically when it comes to being black in this sport. Because again, you're stereotyped. You are, for a large part, when it comes to marketing and things of that sort, you're considered less than. You're considered less important. You're considered less of a star. You're considered second class almost. I know that people will say, well, there's been a lot of successful people, and it goes, yes, but successful up to a point, right? A lot of people haven't been able to break through to really be the top stars like some of our counterparts have. And we are a group of individuals who are tired of that. We know how good we are. We know how much depth our culture has. We know how many well thought out and in-depth characters that we can produce. And it's about bringing our culture to the professional wrestling world in a way that people can understand it, but also realize that it's much bigger than what they thought. And that is our commitment. It is a movement that truly represents and is for the people. And we will continue to be the leaders that we have promised to be.
Awesome. Got something, Matt?
Well, this is like I said, my son's 8 years old, huge wrestling fan.
Mhm.
And he had a question that if you could win any championship, work for any promotion and win any championship, what championship would that be? And what promotion would that be?
The Ring of Honor World Championship. Ring of
Exactly.
Honor, that World Championship has always meant you are in the driving seat of innovation. You are in the driving seat of progress. You are sitting on top of the mountain. You are considered the very best in the world. And I think it's about time we got back to that. When I was TV champion, I defended that belt 12 times in less than 6 months, all across the world. Roosh has been world champion for almost a year. I think he's defended it twice. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to get back to having those matches and defenses that made people fall in love with Ring of Honor.
Awesome.
When you go back and watch the Danielson matches, when you go back and watch the Joe matches, the Punk matches, the Homicide matches, the McGuinness matches, I want people to feel that again with my performances. I want to be able to have a run and an era of ROH that those guys from the golden years can look to and go, he would have survived with us. That's how it's done. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to bring back to Ring of Honor. And the first step to doing that is winning the Ring of Honor World Championship and only being the second African-American male in the almost 20-year history of the company to do so, other than Jay Lethal.
Awesome. I can't help but give you props, man. PWI Top 500 of 2020, you ranked number 65, man. That must feel good for you.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, yeah, it's an incredible honor to be that high. I think the year before I was like 260 something. The year before that I was like 460 something. So I've jumped 400 spots in 2 years. The competitor that I am, I don't think there are 64 people in the world that are better than me. That's just how I feel. But I'm sure everybody on that list feels the same way, and they should. But yeah, so we will see what next year brings.
Awesome. Matt, you have anything else? I got a couple. My kids asked me some questions to ask you. Matt doesn't have anything else, so.
Well, I'm looking through my notes, so go ahead now.
We're sitting around the dinner table last night, so you got to be prepared for these questions. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs. Favorite music? Motivation. How does it? Favorite music that motivates you through your workouts and stuff?
Anything DMX, but it's not for kids.
DMX, right? All right, I write that down. I don't even want to answer this question, okay? But fake or real? Does it hurt?
Yeah, it hurts a lot. There are more injuries. There are more injuries in wrestling every year alone than the NFL, MLB, and NBA combined.
Okay. And last one, do you practice with the person you verse? I don't know how often before the match. Like Rush, are you working out with him before the match, or did you just go?
No, you just go out there and do it, man.
All right.
Wrestling is the combination of like Broadway and athletics and live performance. You only get one take at this. You have to be perfect every single time. The amount of pressure that is on our shoulders to go out there and perform and be perfect night in and night out is incredible, right?
Awesome. Yep.
It is what it is.
And you have a hobby?
Good.
Do I have a hobby?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big gamer, man. I got some buddies waiting for me to play games right now. Yeah, big gamer. I just love to compete. I love to trash talk. And anything that I get to do both of those at the same time is a win for me.
Okay.
Now, not only do I want to win, but I want to make sure that you know I won and make sure you know you lost.
There you go. Got any last questions, Matt?
What kind of games you play then?
Man, Madden, 2K, in the shooters now with Call of Duty and Modern Warfare, things of that sort. So the ability for me to like be on headset talking trash to people as I'm lighting them up, man, it's the best.
I'm a big Hail Mary guy in Madden, man. I drop back and throw it as far as I can and hope somebody catches it.
Hey, that's gonna make it a real long game for you because I'll get like 15 interceptions. I'm good at taking those.
So
my last business or my last wrestling related question. Since we're in the middle of a pandemic and we have you guys don't have a live audience. How much more difficult does that make things for you guys
It was awkward at first because everything we're trained to do is geared on crowd response. So without that there, it presents a very unique atmosphere. Because now you're not looking for those noise cues anymore, and you sort of get to just focus on your opponent and really hone into what you want to do to win a fight. And for me, with my style, I think it benefits me even more to fight with nobody around because now there's nobody that you can impress. You know what I mean? When you catch somebody one-on-one without their friends to hype them up, they're a different person. You know what I mean? All of a sudden now they're not talking as tough as they did with all those people around. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the mode that I go into it with. And there's nobody to help them. It is you. It is me. It is this ring. And I'm going to beat you down until you decide you don't want anymore.
Awesome. Well, Shane, Mr. Taylor, I appreciate your time. I know that you're I don't want to take up any more time, but I want to say this: February 27th, championship edition of ROH. Fans, tune in, watch Shane Taylor go against Rush, and I'm going to make a Roosh. I'm sorry. I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to be rooting for my man Shane Taylor. There's two of the hardest hitters that you ever see in the game of and this is the first time the title has been defended on TV since July 2018. That's what I heard. That's what I think I read. But maybe I'm not accurate on that. But
I mean, it sounds about right. And let's also not forget, while we're talking about that, February 20th, myself, Khan, and Moses will be challenging Mexa Squad, Bandito, Ray Horace, and Flamita for the Ring of Honor World Six-Man titles as well. We were supposed to do it at Final Battle, but Flamita and Bandito popped for COVID. But now they are back. They are healthy. They are ready to go. And now we get to take what should have been ours at Final Battle.
So what I hear you saying is after the 27th, you're going to be holding two straps, right?
Man, you're going to have to call me Shaney Two Belts, baby. I like
Shane
it.
Two Belts. Shane Taylor promotion.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Much love.
All right, but thank you.
All right, bye.